We bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, get ready for this. It's Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, breaking all around us.
Can the Prime Minister tell us, did the official security vetting he received mention Mandelson's ongoing relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein?
So clear.
Yes, it did.
Bye then. So it's breaking everywhere now. The Guardian, it's over for Starmer, say Labour MPs. They have several absolutely devastating quotes from Labour MPs, former Labour ministers, saying that Starmer needs to go. But there's a catch.
Given the public disgust and the sickening behaviour of Peter Mandelson and the importance of transparency, should we not have the ISC not have the same role now in keeping public confidence in the process?
Rayner's stuck the knife in. She's also all over the front pages. Furious MPs force Starmer into U-turn. It's really worth noting that Sir Keir Starmer and his advisers wanted to try to redact the full files when it came to Mandelson, Starmer, what they knew, when they knew it, before they appointed him, etc. He wanted to redact it on national security grounds. He wanted to redact it on international relations grounds, which basically would have meant everything, given that it was an ambassadorial appointment. So he's been forced into a U-turn on that. The truth will obviously come out. In other news,
I wrote that tweet. I was just so emotionally charged and upset, and just I still to this day can't quite believe that somebody's dropped their children off at a dance class, at a Taylor Swift dance class, and never got to pick them up.
well, Lucy Connolly had her prosecution for stirring up racial hatred during the Southport riots fast-tracked for approval by Sir Keir Starmer's right-hand man, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer. The Daily Telegraph are running that on their front page, which is interesting, isn't it? Because I think we were told, was it one of the ones that had never crossed his desk or that they'd not had much to do with? So, oh, there we go. And
I think they should keep it. I don't know why they're doing it. Do they need money?
well, something's happened here, because it's yet another dramatic twist in the Chagos tale. The Daily Telegraph is also reporting that President Trump is expected to approve Sir Keir Starmer's Chagos surrender deal. I suppose the positive of that is that Sir Keir Starmer might not be around much longer, politically speaking, so whoopsie. And
30 years writing comedy for British television. It was a career I loved, but it ended when I began noticing that women were losing their livelihoods, their social circles, and even their freedom for defending rights won over 100 years ago by the suffragette movement.
Father Ted creator Graham Linehan has testified to Congress over the dire state of free speech in the UK. And tonight at midnight on the Late Show Live with Bev Turner, make sure that you tune into that, because they'll have much more detail. But yeah, loads of front pages for us here. We are joined this evening by the top team of the Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov, and GB News contributor and comedian Steve N. Allen. I need to remind you that Cabinet Ministers in the Labour Party are being told to resign tonight to try to force the Prime Minister's hand. And apparently the Prime Minister is currently in a Downing Street bunker, desperately trying to cling on to his career. Expect breaking news, expect it to happen in the next hour. But now, it's your bulletin.
Patrick, thank you. The top story: Sir Keir Starmer will be forced to give files relating to Peter Mandelson's appointment as the UK's ambassador to the US over to Parliament's Intelligence Committee after a rebellion by Labour MPs. Previously, ministers had insisted that information relating to national security or international relations would not be published. But following outspoken interventions from senior Labour MPs, the government has now backed down. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle had this to say after the Metropolitan Police told the government not to release certain files, saying it would undermine their investigation into Mandelson.
The question with the Metropolitan Police have no jurisdiction on what this House may wish to do. It will be whether the government provides or not. But just to let you know, they cannot dictate to this House.
Sir Keir Starmer admitted he knew about Mandelson's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein when he was appointed him to the role, but claimed he lied repeatedly about the extent of that relationship.
Time and time again, Mandelson completely misrepresented the extent of his relationship with Epstein and lied throughout the process, including in response to the due diligence.
Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burghardt, told GB News it's been a terrible day in government, but a good result this evening.
Absolutely shocking. There was an intake of breath in the House of Commons. And I just think the Prime Minister's reputation and his judgment are totally shot to pieces now. And we've been very pleased that we've been able to win the vote tonight to force the government to hand over all of the information that relates to that appointment.
In other news, US President Donald Trump says immigration agents could use a softer touch as his administration began pulling about a quarter of its force out of Minnesota, where 2 American citizens died last month in confrontations with federal officers. US Border Chief Tom Homan said earlier 700 federal immigration agents would be withdrawn from the Minneapolis area. He said 2,000 agents would remain, but says he aims to cut the federal immigration presence in the city to its level before the operation started in December. And Graham Linehan has been telling members of the US Congress that Sir Keir Starmer has reduced freedom of speech in Britain at a censorship hearing. The 57-year-old Father Ted co-creator has been appearing before Congress, who are investigating online censorship laws. Mr Linehan's testimony follows his detention at Heathrow Airport in September, when 5 armed police officers stopped and questioned him over gender-critical comments he'd made online. The incident sparked a significant row over freedom of expression, with the writer pledging to hold the Metropolitan Police accountable for what he described as an attempt to silence gender-critical voices. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, it's over to Patrick.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's get you all of Thursday's newspaper front pages. The Guardian: it's over for Starmer, say Labour MPs amid fury over Mandelson. They have a series of stinging quotes from serving Labour MPs about how Starmer basically needs to go. The Metro: liar, liar, pants on, hired. They also cover the Starmer-Mandelson story. Fury as PM's account of Mandelson quotes betrayal. So he's facing a growing crisis, the Prime Minister, over this, fair to say. The Sun: revolting. Well, 2 stories in one, actually, for The Sun here. Apparently, staff at Andrew Mountbatten's Windsor's new home are going on strike because basically he's there and think it's disgusting. And Labour MPs have forced the Prime Minister into a humiliating U-turn today that may well, of course, be the end of him. The Independent: furious MPs forced Starmer into a U-turn on the Mandelson files. That charge was led by none other than Angela Rayner. If we go to the Daily Express, They're not covering that story as their main story. They are saying Wes Streeting listens to our campaign for better mental health support for cancer sufferers, but they do carry the Starmer Mandelson story at the top. If we go now to the Daily Mail, Starmer in grave peril as Rayner twists the knife. I'll play you a clip shortly of exactly what Angela Rayner did today in the Commons. The Telegraph, Rayner turns on Starmer. They've also got a story in the Daily Telegraph about how it appears that Lucy Connolly's prosecution was fast-tracked by the Attorney-General, Lord Hermer, which is, I believe, a direct contradiction to what we were told at the time. So that's the story we're going to be covering. The Times, Starmer fights for future over Mandelson scandal. The Daily Mirror, no, nothing really there on the old Mandelson stuff. Nothing really, no, interesting. They do carry... Look, don't get me wrong, it's a moving story, and I feel desperately sorry for this bloke's family. Snooker great John Virgo's widow pays tribute to her husband after he died suddenly at age 79. You know, absolutely may rest in peace, and feel very sorry for the family. Of course, I do think most people will be thinking that the main story of the day, with respect, is the Mandelson-Starmer stuff. And they take it from the line of Mandelson lied to the PM, which, again, is quite generous for the Prime Minister. Let's get the views of our panel on this. If we start with The Guardian and maybe then mix it up with The Mail, The Guardian quotes, Mark, on this are pretty devastating for the Prime Minister. What are Labour MPs saying about their own leader?
Yeah, this is interesting, because if I'd had to guess 3 or 4 hours ago, The Guardian headline, I would have just assumed it was something like dark day for Starmer or something. But they've gone and got reaction from serving Labour MPs, former ministers, that kind of thing. Trust is finite, says one Labour MP. I'm personally not sure I could trust myself to back the Prime Minister in a confidence vote. We all need the poison to come out, says one other Labour MP. The most terminal mood is among the super loyal, an MP from the 2024 intake says. That's really interesting. If the people closest to you are thinking that, then the game is probably up. So The Guardian, rather than just saying bad day for the government, is already moving on to Labour MPs trying to bring Starmer's premiership to an end.
And Steve, supposedly now, as we speak, the Prime Minister is meeting with advisers in Downing Street to try to navigate a way out of this. What do you think the tone of those discussions is this evening?
A lot of sweat. I imagine beads of running down. That's the kind of mental image, because there's no good outcome here. Right? It seems if you boil it down, you get two ways of looking at it. It's either he was given good information and ignored it, or given bad information and didn't have the wherewithal to try and ask more questions. The Mirror's way of spinning it, and the way he's been spinning it about being lied to, you're right, that's trying to pass the buck. But ultimately, yeah, he may well have been lied to, but then just took it. And this is what I think we all know. They probably, at the time, didn't want to look any deeper into it. There probably was information that wouldn't have looked good if they'd have dug. They didn't want to dig. They had a situation where they already hired this guy. If they'd have come up with the stuff that then meant a few days later they had to go, oh, we've changed our minds, there would have been a scandal then. They wanted to be burying it at the time. They probably thought they would have buried it because, to be brutally honest, what they did is they got someone who was friends with Epstein to go and be the ambassador for someone who was friends with Epstein, with the presumption that these files would never see the light of day because it didn't look like all the people with power were going to ever let that happen. If America sat on them, we would be sat here now going, oh, David Beckham's son's done what? That would be what we'd be talking about.
Release the tapes, Brooklyn.
That's exactly. We would have been back on that worthy campaign.
Yeah.
Don't start him up again.
As it happens.
Still not over that.
But the reason we're talking about this is because the files that no one ever thought we'd see came out. So, of course, look, I don't want to get sued or anything, but a version of me that doesn't mind getting sued would say, of course, they absolutely knew about this and thought they'd thoroughly get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the issue for the Prime Minister, isn't it? And, I mean, the Times' front page there, Starmer fights for future over Mandelson's scandal. The Prime Minister admits he and his aide were warned of the ambassador's friendship with Epstein. And I do suppose, Nina, at the core of it is this. Even if he was lied to, even if we accept that he was lied to, which I don't massively accept that he just... but he accepted the word of Peter Mandelson, widely regarded as a dishonest sleazeball, over his relationship with the world's most notorious paedophile. And that's awful.
It is, knowing what we know now, but what was known then, and we must also place it in context of the time. Trump had just been re-elected. All hell was breaking loose on the international front. You needed somebody in Washington who could deal with Trump, who could, and Mandelson's always been very, very urbane, mixes with billionaires, movers and shakers, blah, 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 all of that. And as a consummate politician, I mean, if you look at, Danny Finkelstein, who was an arch Tory, wrote a piece in the Times saying, look, it's an absolute disaster, but it's a personal tragedy for him, but saying, and proving the point, how likeable Peter Mandelson is, because he'd done a radio show every week with him for weeks and weeks and weeks, and said, and he, before he spent this time with him, he thought, oh, Peter Mandelson, but said how charming, rather endearing, amusing, blah, 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 all of those things. So he's one of those charming men who, that's why the diplomacy thing worked well. I understand. I know that's not the test.
He also had to resign twice in shame before, so
I agree with all that.
So again, look, hypothesising a little bit here, but this is what we know. That Starmer knew not just that Mandelson was an associate of Epstein, that he maintained that relationship after Epstein had been imprisoned.
But we didn't.
No, right, but no. So what do you then do as Prime Minister? Do you just call in Peter Mandelson and say, Peter, you're a charming man, Danny Finkelstein tells me so. This Epstein thing, is there anything to worry about there? And Mandelson says, nothing at all. Oh, very well, then get on the next plane to Washington. Of course you don't. You dig deep and seriously into it. You say, hand over your phone. I want to see whether there's been any email exchanges between you and Epstein.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Well, you've got to do that at the time.
Let me just I want to tell the viewers and listeners what we are due to get, because the government has now been forced to publish Peter Mandelson's vetting for the US ambassador's position. And this is going to cover all his messages and emails to Sir Keir Starmer, ministers and advisors, plus all due diligence papers. The full list of material the government is now required to publish is this: messages, emails and minutes of meetings between Mandelson and Starmer, Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney and ministers in the 6 months prior to his appointment. All papers relating to Mandelson's appointment as US ambassador, including Cabinet Office due diligence passed to number 10 and his conflict of interest form submitted to the FCDO. Material provided by the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and Cabinet Office to UK security vetting, covering Mandelson's interests. All information on Mandelson provided to Starmer before his assurance to the Commons on the 10th of September 2025 that full due process had been followed. And finally, any details of any payments made to Mandelson on his departure as ambassador and any payments made to him from the civil service. So all of that information is about to have to go to the parliamentary committee, essentially, isn't it? And then we should see that. So the truth will out, I suppose.
Yeah, well, in theory, we should see the lies. The lies will out. Because if Starmer's saying he was lied to, we should get to see the lies there and see how believable or how gullible you'd have to be. But this is where we slightly disagree. You think that they should have done a deeper dig. I think they didn't want to. It was convenient, and they thought this could remain buried forever. So, of course, I think we might find out that they didn't dig any deeper.
Right, but that puts them still on the guilty step, right? So, yeah, I mean, either they rush this through with scant evidence. Admittedly, that goes to Nina's claim, they didn't know at the time. But my riposte would be they should have damn well asked, or they did damn well ask, and they overrode the material.
You think he's cut?
I cannot see any scenario in which the information that comes forward is anything other than totally disastrous for the Prime Minister. It's just how disastrous is it on the scale from catastrophe to oblivion? It's going to be somewhere on that scale.
On the other hand, can I ask what you three think? Did Mandelson do a good job as ambassador in the States?
Not really. We're giving away the trade.
No, we got the trade deal.
Right.
But that's
what do you mean, right?
No, but that's irrelevant.
We haven't... No, it's not. No, hang on. That was the job he was...
The guy has now been exposed as a national traitor.
Look,
the fact that he did a good job is neither here nor there.
We understand that. We understand that, and let's just take that on board. We know that. I'm just saying, look at it in the context of then. He was hard to do a job, and obviously Keir Starmer... Anybody would have thought, oh, God, is this going to be dicey or not? OK, let's take a punt on it. And it was a disaster.
I don't think we're disagreeing, though.
No, but then I'm saying, did Mandelson do a good job? He
I don't think he did. I'm sorry, we're giving away the trade-off.
I'm not justifying his appointment at all. I'm not here to defend Mandelson. He's extraordinary. I mean, complete traitor to this country. Never mind Epstein's victims. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he could well be Epstein could well be a Russian, could well have been a Russian spy, and therefore that's treacherous. But I was saying,
was Harold Shipman ever a good doctor?
Yeah, quite.
Well, he saved a couple of lives, didn't he?
I'm just
Apart
saying,
from that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
What was the most important thing, I would have thought, in Keir Starmer's mind in dealing with Donald Trump and in wanting to get a good trade deal?
I think we agree, though. I think at the time, the mental arithmetic would have been, here's a guy who bumped into Trump on Sex Pest Island a few times. He's a good connection. But there are some questions we should ask. But if we don't ask them, maybe they never crop up because the files will never be released. So at the time, could they have buried their head in the sand and not had proof that they knew things that would have been damning? I think they thought they'd get away with it.
The other side of this now, we're going to talk more about this because Angela Rayner was the one who really stuck the knife into Starmer today. Shortly, we're going to play you a clip of that and what happened there. It leads naturally, doesn't it, to the follow-up questions about who's on manoeuvres. Talks now about one or maybe two Labour cabinet ministers going to try to force Keir Starmer's hand. Who will they be? What do they stand to gain out of it? Think about this. Wes Streeting, look, unfortunately for Wes Streeting, right, appears to have had quite a close relationship with Peter Mandelson. He's not the only person, by the way. Appears to have quite a close, even to the point of tweeting a picture with his mum, as in Wes Streeting's mum, with Peter Mandelson, saying, oh, you know, it's like a hero that they met and etc. And so now he needs to distance himself from him. Is he going to be the first to resign? Would it get Wes off the hook, as it were, of being close with Mandelson if he decided to be the first one to jump ship? He will always be able to say that. A bit like Robert Jenrick says when he quit over the immigration issue, when he was a Tory. That's one of his big get-out-of-jail cards now. Fair enough for it as well. But so we're going to wait and see what happens there. But shall we just remind ourselves of... I think, really, this is probably... one of two moments today in the House of Commons where Sir Keir Starmer's career as Prime Minister ended, and this is when Kemi Badenoch asked him this question.
Can the Prime Minister tell us, did the official security vetting he received mention Mandelson's ongoing relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein?
So clear.
Yes, it did. As a result, various questions were put to him. Mandelson completely misrepresented the extent of his relationship with Epstein and lied throughout the process, including in response to the due diligence.
We'll also play you the clip of Keir Starmer's hands shaking at the dispatch box, and I think you can tell quite a lot from that. Given that, for a lot of his tenure so far, Sir Keir Starmer has seemed at his most comfortable when he's in that kind of setting, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get stuck right into the Angela Rayner angle on this, and it opens the question about who comes next. So, yeah, more front pages for you when we come back.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Football Safety app is obviously does exactly what it says on the tin. You're going to a football match, and you've got to remember football doesn't start when you're actually in the stadium. It starts when you leave your house and you're going to a game. So you can report in stuff, whether you're on a train, whether you're travelling, whether you're walking to a stadium, anything that's happening in and around you. We all know that sometimes it can get a bit rowdy on the trains. I've been there before, stuck on the train before, and sometimes you struggle to report report it. And this is a way of reporting what's going on and reporting it to police.
And Emile, have you ever been a victim of all of this?
Well, I've obviously had racial abuse at stadiums while playing, etc.
You know, it's you know what's sad? The fact that you said obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just awful that it's obviously.
The interesting thing with that is I made my debut at 17. And we know what's going on, we see it, I've had it, and by the time I was finished, when I was playing, I was thinking, by the time I finish playing, it will change. It probably hasn't, it's probably just morphed into something else. We have the ability to get a hold of anyone, any time in our hands, with our mobile phones, with social media, with the social media companies. So it's just morphed into something else where we get a lot of abuse. We see it with the lads playing in the missing penalties and then suddenly they're getting abused, etc. But that's still happening in the stadium. And it's not just racial abuse, it's bullying, it's sexual harassment, it's all sorts of harassment.
And all these things would qualify to be reported.
In the app. You basically just report, you can just click a button and it's instant.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Well, staggering set of front pages for the Prime Minister. Staggeringly awful, that is. It looks like Keir Starmer is toast. If we could maybe bring up the front of the Daily Mail, we've got Starmer in grave peril as Angela Rayner twists the knife. Keir Starmer's premiership was in grave peril after Angela Rayner led a Labour revolt against his handling of the Peter Mandelson scandal. And we can play you a clip now of Angela Rayner in the House of Commons earlier today doing just that.
Public disgust and the sickening behaviour of Peter Mandelson and the importance of transparency. Should we not have the ISC not have the same role now in keeping public confidence in the process?
And you can tell Keir Starmer's rattled by this. He darted out of the chamber quite earlier on. Apparently, he is currently having crisis talks in Downing Street as we speak. Hopefully, it's just him writing his resignation letter, but sadly, probably not. And you can tell he was rattled, most notably, by his hands. And he was shaking, he was quivering in the House of Commons earlier today, and I think it's probably because he knows his time is up. I think we can show you a video now of... And just watch as he's trying to hold them together so you can't see them shaking, but he lets it slip when he goes to put it on the desk, and he goes like that. Here it is.
For deciding what falls into those categories will not be a political process. It will be led by the Cabinet Secretary.
There it goes. It's gone. The hand's gone. And just to emphasise again on that Mail front page there about Angela Rayner sticking in the knife. Mark, what was Starmer trying to do in terms of the release of this evidence? Why was what Angela Rayner said there significant?
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's another U-turn, but it's the fastest U-turn of this government. It took just 3 hours. This is a turbocharged U-turn. So Starmer's initial pitch at Prime Minister's questions was, guys, you don't need to worry. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to get the Cabinet Secretary at number 10, who works for me, you know, an independent civil servant, but works for me. He's going to go through all of the documentation and he's going to redact, he's going to scrub out anything with a national security concern or anything that might prejudice our international relations. Well, given that this was actually about an ambassadorial appointment, you would think it's all about international relations. Kemi Badenoch, I think in her fourth question, then said, hang on a minute, why is it the Cabinet Secretary who works for you? Why don't you give the information to the Intelligence and Security Committee, which is a committee of peers and MPs, who are all super properly vetted. They can look through it and scrub out anything with national security concerns. You've got to be joking about the international relations concerns. Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, was open to this as well. And then Angela Rayner rode in behind Kemi Badenoch. I mean, pretty unlikely unlikely alliance, you might say, but nevertheless, you know, the sisters decided to work together on Raidenoch.
Thank you.
So, and once Rayner,
proud of that.
Once she'd moved in, it was evident from a whole load of Labour MPs, including established senior Labour MPs like Dame Meg Hillier, that a good number, very large number of Labour MPs were willing to vote with Rayner and Badenoch. The government was going to lose. So the government then had to accept, rather than it going to this bureaucrat who works for Keir Starmer to decide what's released, it's going to go to the Independent Intelligence and Security Committee. That was the win for Kemi and for Rayner.
And that tells you the strength of feeling in the Labour Party tonight, that they would have been willing to vote down what the government wanted to do in terms of redacting the information. So tonight, Keir Starmer will know, beyond any doubt, really, that he no longer has the support of those people behind him.
He'll know that, but we still don't know the outcome, because there's two ways this play out. If we start to get ministerial resignations, I think if you get one, then actually you'll have enough momentum to see this just collapse. I can't imagine there'd be one poor fool who went early and no one follows. However, you know what? He's a lawyer as well, so he'll cling on for as long as possible. Process, yeah. All you need is for, you know, wait for the next news story to come along. If we could get a war in the next 3 days, he still might manage it. You never know. That's how they do it, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
He's very stubborn, and he has a great belief in himself. He's also ruthless. I mean, appointing Mandelson was a ruthless move, wasn't it?
Well, reckless as well.
Well, reckless. We all know reckless, but I'm saying ruthless. It would take, you know.
Well, God, sorry, Mark. I was just going to say to Nina's point. Actually, if you were Keir Starmer, you're staring down the barrel of your entire reputation being in tatters and you being remembered in the history books as, for decades, as the bloke that had to go because of the Mandelson and the Epstein scandal, right? Which is terrible, right? Yeah. Because your name there, you know, rightly or wrongly, is always going to be linked to, like, not for anything Starmer's directly done, I'm at pains to say here, but it's going to be linked with, like, the world's most notorious paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. In 40 years' time, people are going to be reading about this and learning about it. So for him, he's almost got to try to cling on and get past this, because the only other option is just, like, almost like unlivable humiliation, isn't it?
I mean, he's never going to resign. He's not a resigning person. He is determined. I mean, there wasn't some interview he gave a couple of weeks ago. He said, "No, I'll see you in 2029 or whatever." He has great belief in himself. He will continue.
Yeah, but Nina, this is basically true of all prime ministers. They are ruthless. You need to be to get there. You need to be somewhat narcissistic. You need to have a very high opinion of yourself. This is probably true of Keir Starmer, but it was true of Boris Johnson, of Margaret Thatcher, of Tony Blair. The end comes to all of them. And in the bunker in number 10 Downing Street at the moment, and I've been in a few bunkers in my time, political bunkers, you tend to get complete delusion. So despite what Patrick said, I don't think they are discussing Keir Starmer's legacy in 40 years' time and what the history books will say. They will have a very particular, at ground level view of things that they'll be working through. And when prime ministers go, however ruthless or determined or stubborn they are, it's because someone breaks through that delusion. It used to be Graham Brady for the Conservatives. Yes. He was the Grim Reaper. As Graham Brady says he wants to see you and you're the Prime Minister, you know he's going to say, the game's up, the Parliamentary Party are against you.
That's what happened to Liz Truss, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to Boris, basically, and to Theresa May. For Margaret Thatcher, it was her husband. The Cabinet was losing faith in her, but Dennis said, look, you've got to go. Now, I don't know who it will be for Starmer, but someone will perform the role of undertaker and he will go. However ruthless and stubborn he is, he's not uniquely ruthless and stubborn compared to former PMs.
It's a question of when.
Yes, but you lose control of the timing when things get this bad.
In 2016...
Most of them say, I can hang on for another 6 months when they've only got another 6 hours.
In June 2016, Sir Keir Starmer resigned from his front bench role in mass protest over the leadership of then Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. In his resignation letter, he stated it was untenable for Labour to offer an effective opposition without a change of leader. Of course, Corbyn did then have him back as Shadow Secretary of State for exiting the European Union. But, I mean, Keir Starmer knows what these moments are like, doesn't he? He will know what's going on and what the kind of machinations of this are behind the scenes. But can you imagine Starmer there looking at Rayner, sticking the knife into him, and let's have that chat. Who comes after Starmer? You know?
I think there's a chance we don't even know which name it will be because everyone's got a certain level of taint that's going to ruin it. For Rayner, now the story's all talking about her, front page of the Daily Mail, because, you know, the teaming up with Kemi Badenoch. But she's not sorted out the tax thing. Yep. HMRC have been dragging their heels. So, whilst the Daily Mail absolutely hates Starmer and go with a front page like this, as soon as we get a sense of Rayner's going for it, well, the Daily Mail hate Rayner as well, so that will be the focus. Where Streeting, you've said we've already got the Mandelson pictures. Ed Miliband would be hilarious. No, I'm just saying, everyone's got enough pressure on them.
Miliband could be, because he is on polls after poll after poll. Ed Miliband appears to be the most popular with Labour Party members. He also apparently, I'm willing to stand corrected on this, I heard this from a good source earlier today, apparently he's actually always really quite disliked Mandelson.
Yeah.
So he's clean on that regard.
He's clean on that regard. I mean, I actually think those like Wes Streeting, who have had a close relationship with Mandelson, can overcome that, right? Because we're not suggesting that Wes Streeting knew all of this information about Mandelson betraying the nation. So, I mean, here are the scores on the doors, Patrick, if you believe the betting markets. Rayner is a 30% chance to be the next leader of the Labour Party. Streeting about a 20% chance. Miliband about a 12% chance. So if you add those three together, you're at about 62%. Then there's loads of long shots. You know, if you fancy a punt on Liz Endell or Torsten Bell or something like that. And maybe it will be a wild long shot, but you need to get 80 MPs to back you. And so it's not just, are you popular in the membership? It's, do you have a fifth of the Labour Party willing to back you? Probably those three do. I'm not sure that there are many others who do.
Can we just say as well, spare a thought for Andy Burnham, who must have punched some walls tonight.
Yeah.
Just, it could have been me.
That's true. All right, look, we've got loads to keep going at, of course, but I do want to say this, coming up in just a moment.
When I wrote that tweet, I was just so emotionally charged and upset and just... I still, to this day, can't quite believe that somebody's dropped their children off at a dance class, at a Taylor Swift dance class, and never got to pick them up.
Well, Lucy Connolly had her prosecution for stirring up racial hatred during the Southport riots fast-tracked for approval by Sir Keir Starmer's right-hand man, his good friend, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer. Well, hang on a minute, because I thought we were told that didn't happen. That's next.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following a short-lived drier spell, we've got more rain arriving from the south now. It's also going to turn colder during the next 24 hours, which means that as the rain moves north and bumps into the colder air, there'll be further snow over the hills of North Wales, Northern England and Scotland. But it's the south where we see that rain initially during the evening. It's pushing into the southwest and then runs along the channel before making inroads into South Wales, central southern England. Spells of rain increasingly across the north and east of Scotland, as well as northern England. Mostly snow over the peaks at this stage, with quite a brisk wind continuing in the northeast. A lot of clouds, so generally a frost-free start to Thursday, even if it is going to feel cold once again in that wind across the northeast. It's a mild start in the south and southwest, but a wet start. Could be some issues on the roads first thing because of the wet weather coming on top of the saturated ground, of course. Further north into parts of northern England, drier for a time, especially the northwest. Northern Ireland starts dry, likewise for western Scotland, and actually western Scotland the place to be through the day for the best of any drier and sunnier weather, whilst the rest of the UK sees increasingly cloudy and increasingly damp weather spread up from the south and move in from the northeast. So spells of rain, showery rain for many. It's on and off, and a drier interlude in the south for a time during the afternoon before more wet weather arrives later. And it's going to feel cold in the east wind, especially for eastern Scotland and northern England, with the snow level coming down. So above 200 to 300 metres, I expect. North Wales, Northern England, and Scotland will see some snow. Friday starts off in a similar vein. A lot of cloud across the UK. Spells of rain continuing in the south and the east. The weekend will see further showery bits and pieces of rain, turning a little drier on Sunday. Chance of some brightness in some places.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Well, of course, there is numerous different scandals embroiling the Prime Minister at the moment, and more reports coming out online as we speak about how his days are very, very much numbered, including from what people might regard, he might deny this, but I would suggest a sympathetic journalist, Lewis Goodall, who is saying that Morgan McSweeney's days are numbered, but also, of course, Sir Keir Starmer's fate now lies in the hands of what on earth is in these documents. And Starmer looked very shifty before in Parliament, didn't he? However, there is another potential scandal here. Tonight, the Daily Telegraph is reporting that Lucy Connolly had her prosecution for stirring up racial hatred fast-tracked for approval by Lord Hermer, the Attorney-General. This is according, they claim, to official documents. The childminder's case was treated as an emergency charging decision under which specialist counter-terrorism prosecutors secured consent for her prosecution from Lord Hermer's office within 12 hours of asking for it on a Friday night. Those details have now been revealed by the Crown Prosecution Service, obtained by Lucy Connolly through a subject access request. And Mark is across the detail.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame this isn't a bigger story because of the collapse of the Starmer administration. This is really, really worrying. We don't need to revisit all of the stuff about Lucy Connolly, how bad it was what she said X. Do you think she should have got a 31-month sentence? This, and a good number of opposition MPs are saying this now looks very much like a political prosecution, because I can't believe that a government could say, however disturbing they found Lucy Connolly's tweet, she's a clear and present danger. You know, having considered counter-terrorism here, we're going to fast-track it. This fast-tracking is supposed to deal with things like Ruda Kabana, a genuine terrorist attack. We've got to get this in court now. We're not going to, you know, because it's such a national emergency. How on earth is the Lucy Connolly thing anything approaching an emergency? But from a Friday night, when the Met, God only knows why there was a request to fast-track it, but by 9:21 a.m. the following day, I believe that's a Saturday, the Attorney-General had said, yes, please can you keep us updated with substantive developments. This, therefore, makes it look more and more like a political prosecution, whatever you think of the final outcome and whether she should have gone to jail or not. Why this was fast-tracked. She is clearly, amongst the list of people we have, not the clearest and most present danger to British society, is she?
She could have tweeted again, Mark. But you've got to think about this. There's a strong chance that she tweeted saying, do something for all I care, with that level of agreement, and there could have been
But yeah, she was essentially treated like public enemy #1, the equivalent of being on the top of the FBI wanted list. This is mad.
But don't you see that she, of all people, would be someone they'd want to make an example of?
It's exactly
that, because here she was, wife of a Tory councillor, and that, you know, you think, oh, my God, a wife of a Tory councillor. So that's the sort of news that everybody sat up and took notice. So that is
but there are
manoeuvring.
real-life consequences to that. You know, she's a mum, she served an amount of time in prison. Obviously, everything that goes with that, you know, the reputational damage, all of it.
Did she break the law?
She probably did break the law,
She did break the law.
But hang on, Nina, what Nina's just said here is, I think, true. That's probably what happened. But incredibly worrying. I don't want political prosecutions in this country where you get a stiffer prison sentence if you're married to somebody from a particular political party. It shouldn't be in the political arena at all.
Can I just Can I just clarify one thing I said when I said I think it's up for debate whether or not she broke the law, right? Because obviously she pleaded guilty. Now, we know that she got pretty bad legal advice. The reason why I say I think it's up for debate is that there was a not too dissimilar case involving a Labour councillor, Ricky Jones, who basically said things like, we all know, you know, we should slit their throats. Now, of course, he pleaded not guilty, went to a jury of his peers. They found him not guilty, right? So I think The bit when I say it's up for debate is that I'm thinking that had it
been debated, she may have been
I think
acquitted.
there's a good chance she would
You
have
don't
been
need to worry
acquitted.
about that, though, because all of the sentences were less than 3 years, so pretty soon none of these people will see juries. So at least we've sorted that out.
Oh, gosh. Well, there we go. Well, someone who is a strong, staunch, unrelenting, unwavering advocate of freedom of speech is our very own Bev Turner, and she is stateside for us for The Late Show Live. And what's on tonight, Bev?
Hi, Patrick. Well, talking of free speech, I've got Graham Linehan in the studio tonight. He gave that evidence today, didn't he, of course, about the situation in the UK regarding free speech and as the ways in which we are following Europe, as you've said, which is a massive concern to the administration here in America. He was quite emotional, actually, giving that the speech that he gave today. So I'm going to be interviewing Graham this evening. I'm also going to be talking to a fascinating trans person about the trans issue about women in sport, and her child transitioned when they were extremely young, so that will be an interesting one. What else are we talking about? Oh, I've got Ian Duncan-Smith in. Sir Ian Duncan-Smith is in town talking about Chagos lobbying. There are so many powerful political people in this town at the moment trying to get the White House and trying to get President Trump to listen to what he might be about to sign away with the Chagos deal. So Ian Duncan-Smith is going to be with me right at the top of the show, and I'm also going to be interested to see what he thinks about what happened in the House of Commons today and how bad this is for Starmer. I'll give you a heads up. I did talk to him earlier today, and his suggestion of who might take over from Starmer was not what I was expecting at all, and I promise you, you do not want to miss it, because there are a few men more experienced in politics than Ian Duncan-Smith. And of course, we're going to be looking at the front pages. Oh, and of course, the bloke who tried to assassinate President Trump got life today, so we're going to be talking about that, and was that an appropriate sentence? That and a whole lot more.
Well, it's going to be an absolutely stellar show, Bev. As always, thank you very much, Bev Turner there, who'll be with you from midnight until 2 a.m. So just to return back to the story we talked about before, about Lucy Connolly and Lord Hermer apparently signing it off and fast-tracking it, etc. Keir Starmer, of course, did claim at the time that he was not made aware of the details of the case, which I suppose could be technically true.
That probably is true.
Yeah.
But he has appointed the man who made this decision, and it was a bad one.
OK.
Well, seems to have a record for doing that, doesn't he?
We're going to... Well, like night follows day, doesn't it, really? A spokesman for Lord Hermer said decisions to prosecute are rightly made independently of government by the Crown Prosecution Service. For a small number of offences, it is a legal requirement that the CPS obtains the Attorney General's consent after it is decided to prosecute. The case was responded to in the same manner and timeline as many other similar cases at the time. Yes, which might end up being part of the problem, actually. But anyway, coming up in just a moment.
I think they should keep it. I don't know why they're doing it. Do they need money?
Well, as you were hearing there, it's another dramatic twist in the Chagos tale. Has Keir Starmer actually managed to convince President Trump to surrender the Chagos Islands? Well, we'll wait and see. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Well, it's not just wet here in the UK. Storm Leonardo bringing some significant heavy rainfall and strong winds to parts of Portugal as well as Spain. Some very heavy rain and flooding is expected in these areas through the coming days. Further heavy rain affecting parts of the Mediterranean, Italy as well as Greece and Turkey, seeing heavy rain throughout this week. Not quite as heavy as elsewhere, however. The good news is it does look a little bit drier as we head towards the weekend though. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the
because
failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys' Night Late Edition. On Thursday's front pages, as you well know by now, mostly Starmer, don't get me wrong, but there is another one knocking around. It's on the front of the Times. Downing Street believes that the US will back its deal to hand back the Chagos Islands. Hand back in the time they were never Mauritius.
No, no,
Are they?
No. It's handing them over. It's
handing
not handing
them over.
back.
Hand back the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, despite President Trump calling the plan an act of great stupidity. So, I don't know. Is the benefit of this, though, that if Starmer is on the way out, that presumably Chagos goes with him, as in the deal goes with him?
This story won't go away, though. I mean, so many times we've been sat here saying, oh, it looks like there's that treaty that it's in breach of, and then now if the Americans don't agree, so many times that you think, oh, this will be one that they can spin, they can do the U-turn, make it seem like it can just go away without it coming at cost. And yet it's still going to go through. So, seeing as it was the Tories who put this in motion, I don't think getting rid of Starmer gets rid of it.
No.
There's something else at play here.
It's, if it is true that Trump is backing it, then you can't back out of it. Then.
Well, the truth of the matter is that the decision is now totally in the hands of the Trump administration. What our government wants to do is neither here nor there. If Trump vetoes it, it's vetoed. If Trump doesn't veto it, it goes ahead. The decision. So tune in to Bev a bit later because the decision's going to be made on Capitol Hill, not in Downing Street.
Yeah. Bad though, isn't it? Really? I mean, I did think that literally President Trump calling it an act of great stupidity would probably spell...
But weirdly, Trump's done about as many U-turns on this as Starmer, right? Firstly, it's going ahead, then it's stupid, then maybe it's going ahead, or we got guarantees. Why are we giving it away? Are we selling it? He didn't seem to realise that we were actually giving it away with cash attached. We weren't even selling it to the Mauritians. So Trump's adopted the Starmer strategy of U-turning every few minutes.
Let me bring up
360, though.
Bring up the front of the Sun. Sorry, quickly, so I want to squeeze this in. The Sun's front page, and the story, one of the stories that they've got on there is that apparently staff at Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's new home are revolting because they are going to refuse to serve him.
That's extraordinary. I mean, we've never heard of royal flunkies ever. They don't go on strike. They don't. I mean, Do they sell their stories to the newspaper ever? I've never read anything
the Butler
like that.
guy did, didn't he?
Oh, that was
Paul Burrell.
Way after they're out of service, decades after.
What I like about this story, the amount of punishment he's been through. He no longer has titles. He doesn't get a free house, and now he doesn't get servants. That's my life. Literally, the punishment we give him is to make him suffer like the rest of us.
I've got another suffering I'd like to see is that I think in future Lord Mandelson should be known as Peter Mountbatten Windsor. Don't you think we should just use this as a double-barrelled surname for anyone who's been shamed in public life?
For anyone, yeah. I mean, that is going to be the ultimate kind of ignominy for Andrew, though, isn't it? A bloke who... Was it Charles who does have someone, King Charles, who has someone to put the toothpaste on his...
Oh, yes.
But Andrew has someone
to sort out his teddy bears.
Sort out his teddy bears.
Yeah. I mean, but I would have thought... I would have thought it's within King Charles's budget limit to be able to hire a few people to do this.
The next story will be that the teddy bears are all facing away from him because they're so...
Or teddy bears on the floor. I mean, that would drive him to complete tantrum, apparently. But you know, the thing is with Andrew, I mean, he's not even going into the home that's being refurbed. He's going into some... I can't think it's a cottage, but it's...
Yeah.
You know, it's real ignominy. You know, being quite... I know, but being quite serious, how... You know, it'll be interesting to see if... This is dreadful to say this, but interesting to see if we can get through the Mandelson scandal and Andrew without somebody taking their own life.
Well, God, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
no,
shotgun
I mean,
licence taken away, didn't he?
Seriously, I mean, look, there's Fergie, there's Andrew, there's Mandelson. All of them completely disgraced. All of them have lived so high, and I mean, you can't fall even. And there is, and with all three of them, there is no way of redemption coming back.
Let's not drive
the biggest.
Hopefully they don't do
wish
that. Right?
The big fallout from the Epstein files so far, other than Epstein himself, is actually the three people most in the firing line: Ghislaine Maxwell, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and now I'm calling him Peter Mountbatten Windsor, are all Brits.
Yeah.
No American has been destroyed by this yet. Only Brits.
They've paid to have their names redacted. There's 29 of them, apparently.
Really?
They're paid to have their names redacted.
Well, by the way, sorry, we can't keep that sun up. Because Brooklyn's back. Yes. And he's not released the tapes, no. But he apparently has had a cover-up tattoo to remove his dad's name. Oh. Right, let's whiz you through the newspapers then one last time. The Guardian, it's over for Starmer, say Labour MPs amid fury over Mandelson. The Metro, liar, pants on, hired. They go for Mandelson. The Sun, revolting. Andrew's staff, they're saying, no, we're not going to serve you. It's also just revolting about Peter Mandelson. The Independent, furious MPs force Starmer into U-turn on Mandelson files. How much longer can Starmer cling on? The Daily Express go for something a bit different. They say thank you. It's actually a bit of a thank you, I think, to Wes Streeting for backing their cancer care call. Better psychotherapy for cancer sufferers. The Daily Mail, Starmer in grave peril as Rayner twists the knife. The Times, Starmer fights for future over Mandelson's scandal. And the Daily Mirror, I can't imagine a life without my John. There's, of course, the snooker legend. And the Telegraph, Rayner turns on Starmer. Right, that's all for us here. Let's go stateside for Bev Turner with The Late Show Live.
Thank you, Patrick. We will, of course, be carrying on talking a little bit about Mandelson. I've got Sir Duncan-Smith in the studio with me at the top of the show. You want to stick around to see what his answer is to who might take over from Starmer. He's in town to talk about Chagos, though. Also, Graham Linehan in the studio, straight from giving evidence on Capitol Hill today about free speech. That and a lot more.
We want you to set off on the destination of your dreams this year, as you could win an incredible holiday for two worth £10,000. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, you'll get to choose from 47 tours in over 30 worldwide destinations. We'll also give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure you really make a splash this summer.
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries